I'm Kyra Kyles, the head of digital editorial for Ebony.com and JetMag.com.
Hi, my name is Gil Robertson, president of the African American Film Critics Association.
Welcome to the latest edition of our FastForward series, where we talk about how to colorize TV and film.
For this discussion, we're having a conversation with executives from theatrical distribution and new media to tell us how Black content creators can expose their work to the masses.
There have been many diverse creators who are really thriving on YouTube, who really found YouTube as almost like their sort of broadcast mechanism.
No matter how good a film is, if no one knows it exists, it's not going to do any business.
Listen in on our discussion and then make sure to join the conversation with hashtag FastForward on social media.
So how do you peacefully coexist with each other?
We can all play in the sandbox.
I think sandbox is a good metaphor. Like I think of it through the eyes of kind of like the youth, and I'll use a specific example. So my 13-year-old, when he was maybe 9 or 10, he was doing something wrong, and put him on punishment, and the punishment was that he could not watch Yu-Gi-Oh, popular, and that was like devastating. So, but I said, you can't watch Yu-Gi-Oh on television. A couple minutes later, I see him watching Yu-Gi-Oh on the computer, streaming it. So I told him, you can't watch Yu-Gi-Oh on the computer. A couple minutes later, I see him playing the Yu-Gi-Oh app on my phone. And finally I had to say, you know what, you can't play Yu-Gi-Oh in any media form, any platform.
Now on demand.
And he, on demand, linear, offline. He was gaming me, and he did a good job of it. But I think the reality is, kids, grown-ups, today, the borders between the screens kind of melt away. And an IP is an IP is an IP. A creator can travel across it all. And yeah, the business models are different, but I think when we think about it from who is that fan of that property, then everything falls into place and is complementary.
Well, let me ask you this, because we put a lot on the creators, during this discussion, which is fair, but there's also another important aspect, and that's the audience. What do you personally think that Black audiences, both in the United States and globally, can do to better support and make sure that we have more representation in Hollywood in general across the platforms?
Beyond the obvious, right? Don't go buy don't go sign up for that app that you can get films for free, and don't buy things downtown out of a basket. So besides that, I would say be more supportive in terms of not only just going to the theater, because if there's a film you don't want to see, I just feel it's best to talk through, have conversation. Why is that not the, bring attention to the product, right? And the ones you love to see, do the same and be constructive. Have that, because I think the more conversation you have about the content, the more popular they'll get, and people will invest more. Because at the end of the day, it is about the dollar. But for many of us who want to tell just amazing stories, I just love being in a position where I have access to screens, so I can be an integral, I can play a role in introducing people to these great gems, these little films that might open on 10 screens. But if I've changed someone's life by helping expose that, so I think every individual has different power in their hands to do something. So if there's something you see that you love, you got to talk about it, you got to share it, you got to drag your mom, you got to do, but if there's things that you don't also, because I don't think it's necessarily fair to say, I don't care what it is, what black film, since it's a black filmmaker, run, go to the theater.
That's why we have problems,
right?
because of that.
I feel like you only make them better when you say, hey, well, that's not necessarily for me, or if it's not a terrible film, but it's not my thing, well, you know what, here's what I'd like to see. Let folks know, what is it that we do want to see? And don't just say it's good or bad. Let's talk about why. So I feel like a lot of that can be, can be helpful in this. And also, I want people to know, and there's a whole other panel, I really want our younger people to know and understand what other roles exist besides being in front of the camera. What's going on behind the camera? Beautiful, you know, black folk that have skills besides acting, because I think the more we understand, there's a role that's called special content, VP of special content. What is that? Some folks might be interested in that. And then as we begin to, you know, tan those different ranks, then we have that much more influence.
I'd echo everything that she just said. I'd also say vote with the eyeballs and really like open the mind and explore the great content that is out there. So before I worked at YouTube, I had the real pleasure and benefit of working at several movie studios, and one of the things that I did at the movie studios was work in acquisition. So I would go to film festivals and markets and buy films and libraries, and one of my biggest sort of pain points that like really hurt would be seeing an incredible movie, falling in love with it, and saying, gotta pass because it's not for us, there's no room, and I think one of the beauties with digital and with technology is that you have a lot of shelf space. There's a story for you right now, there's a whole category. I often get like surprised not only on like a great video that I saw a creator make, I stumble across entire genres and categories that I knew nothing about that have multiple creators in it. So I would encourage audiences to become fans, and I would even say, like, after watching this video, you know, go online, you know, maybe click down below, see the list of like examples and search, because there's a lot of great creative voices who are out there, and just telling incredible stories that resonate with us.
In what ways do you empower Black content creators? Give us some examples of some of the things that you do, maybe some of the initiatives that your companies support that can empower, you know, content creators of color.
Sure. So one of the missions of YouTube is to really design and shape the platform in a way where everyone can have a voice and everybody can amplify their voice, and really like the freedom to tell their story, and that's a range. That can be a story from, hey, you know what, I want to make you laugh, to, hey, you know what, there's stuff going down on the streets, there's a protest that people need to see because you're not going to see it in the news, and you can live stream it. Like I remember when, I think it was Ferguson, when things were happening in the streets, I was watching live streams that wasn't the package, you know, TV. I was watching what was happening at that moment. So I think availability of platform, and that crosses, you know, race, ethnicity, gender, geography. Like YouTube is actually 80% global, 20% US. So I think that's like a potent thing. But then specifically with the Black community, we're really looking to do more and invest more. We recently had, mentioned it before, a Black creator event where we brought together about 130 Black creators who are, you know, sizable on the platform on YouTube, and really, you know, the goal there was to one, just bring everyone together and see how, you know, the community and YouTube can collaborate more together, but then two, keep that ball rolling, and one example is we have YouTube spaces throughout the country and actually throughout the world. We have 2 in the US, 1 in LA, 1 in New York, then, you know, Sao Paulo, London, and other places, and what we are doing is making these creator spaces available to creators to have access to sound stages, camera equipment, even like editing training, lighting training, and there's, you know, different ways to access that, but we want to do things like that to open it up even more. And then, you know, the other thing I'll close with is, what about the creator who's like starting off, who just decided, I have a story in me that I want to tell, like, where do you begin? And one thing that we try to do there is make things like the YouTube Creator Playbook, which is a resource online that takes you from step 1 to step 100 of establishing your channel. And this is like, I work at YouTube. I use a Creator Playbook. Creator Playbook is like what I use to advise, established creators and new creators.
So I would say, organization-wise, I'm really, really fortunate, very, very blessed that AMC, our footprint is naturally, we're in the malls, we're in the cities, we're in the mall, we have a very urban footprint. So Black and Latino audiences are half our guest base, and my whole reason for being is really to diversify the content that we're playing on screens. So I would say everything from the program that I created almost 6 years ago, where filmmakers, we will actually show filmmakers, if we accept the film, we will show filmmakers how to direct, distribute to theaters. We will actually handhold. I mean, we don't do it every week, but we might do it everywhere from 6 to 10 times a year. And most of the time, you can guess. I mean, those are folks who, their film didn't get picked up at Sundance. Their film didn't, isn't necessarily at, all these lovely festivals, but they've shown us, they've been able to prove that they know who that audience is, and they have just enough resources to open that film. Maybe it's on one screen, or maybe it's 200. So I'm able to support young African American filmmakers in that way, and I love that I'm able to do that. So when I see a film that should be shared, I do what I can to help get it. Besides that, I also support other community-based films of social and cultural relevance, so everything from the Indian cinema to the Asian Pacific, and live events where we're kind of, we're doing the Met Opera for seniors and, that kind of thing. So I feel like I'm in this place for a reason, and so I'm really, really excited that I get to do that every day. But on a personal level, that's very personal to me, what I do every day, but, a lot of kind of mentoring or agreeing to have conversations with young folks who approach me at, I'm at the festivals, I'm doing the panels, I'm trying to tell the AMC story, but at the end of the day, I'm really telling the story of, look who's here, and here is how we can help you. And I'm with an organization that is all about it. So how, I try to be this wealth of information because I want to tell as much as I can, or share as much as I can about the process, so that we understand more what we need to be doing regardless. So anytime I'm asked to be on a panel, anytime I'm asked to share, I do.